In today's movie, we'll see how the American government tries to get their hands on a virus controlled by the Korean government. This virus has the power to create superhumans who could be used in wars. The story kicks off with Professor No talking to Director Chu on the phone. From their conversation, we learn that there's a secret project in Korea called the Tyrant. This project is all about making a bioweapon. American intelligence has found out about this and is demanding that the project be stopped immediately because it could be a threat to the entire world. Professor No explains that because of this, the National Intelligence Service, NIS, suddenly raided the lab and captured Dr. Jonas and his team. He tells Chewie that although they tried to cover everything up, Dr. Jonas's team managed to hold onto one sample of the Tyrant virus, which has likely ended up with the NIS. Director Chu reassures him, saying, "Professor No, don't worry, I'm here and I'll handle everything from now on." After this, we see Choi heading to his clothing store where he meets Guan, a woman who used to be a spy master. Guan tells Choi that she can't help him anymore because all of her spies have been killed. In a flashback, we see the heads of Guan's men, showing the dangerous situation she's been in. Despite the setbacks, Choi isn't ready to give up on the Tyrant project. Guan decides to help him one last time and gives him the blueprint for a portable device that might contain the last sample of the virus. However, she warns Chu that it's not confirmed. She also mentions that a woman named Dr. Jong could help him. Dr. Jong is not just a skilled technician, but also has a rough side. She's a hooligan with dissociative identity disorder. This means when her personality changes, she acts aggressively, like her twin brother, and has a strong craving for cigarettes. When she switches personalities, she feels like she needs just one or two more drags to feel satisfied. While Chu and Guan are still talking, they suddenly hear footsteps approaching. It turns out that two of Mr. Paul's top agents, sent by American intelligence, have come to kill Chu. However, Choi had already left the scene, leaving the agents no choice but to kill Guan, the spy master. The story then shifts to Jong, who is attending her brother's funeral. During the service, she remembers a traumatic moment from her past. Her father's body had been brutally dismembered. If it weren't for the tattoos on his body, she wouldn't have been able to identify him because his remains had been stuffed into a small bag. Jong recalls standing there, stunned but not entirely surprised, knowing that her father's dangerous lifestyle had led him to this end. Her only regret was that this tragedy struck just as he had decided to leave behind his criminal life and retire. He had dreams of opening a pub in Southeast Asia and living peacefully. She remembers him saying, "Life never goes according to plan, and you never know what surprises are just around the corner." And so she reflects, if things aren't going your way, don't lose hope because life is full of unexpected turns. Back in the present, Choi's manager has hired a gang called Moyoung, who first approached Jong. They try to win her over by offering her a meal at their restaurant, surrounding her from all sides. But Jong remains unfazed, calmly eating her noodles as if nothing is happening. Moyoung then gets straight to the point, explaining that a highly secure, handcrafted vault from Sweden is being moved from one location to another. The security will be extremely tight, and they will have only 5 to 10 minutes to complete the job. He emphasizes that since her father's passing, she is the only person in the entire country skilled enough to pull off this heist. Moyoung hands Jong some money, saying, "This is just a small amount. There's much more waiting for you once the job is done." But suddenly, Jong's personality switches, and she starts behaving like her brother, aggressively refusing to take on the job. Her abrupt change in demeanor leaves the gang members bewildered and nervous as they scramble to understand what she is saying and why she has suddenly turned them down. Moyoung gets up, lights Jong's cigarette with his lighter, and says, "If you won't do it for me, then do it for my brother, please. We've got a long history, and I promise that once the job is done, I'll double your advance payment and even throw in a bonus. It'll be enough for your retirement. Then you can go to Southeast Asia with your sister, open a pub, and live a comfortable life." With that, Moyoung manages to handle Jong's other personality, convincing her to take on the job. The scene then shifts directly to the day of the heist. Moyoung's men and Jong team up, taking out the NIS agents and successfully stealing the vault. Jong completes her part of the job, but for Moyoung, it's not over yet. He needs to erase all traces of their involvement, so he decides to get rid of Jong as well. He attempts to kill her by throwing her into a dam. However, Jong manages to escape and makes it to shore, though she's badly injured. Despite her wounds, Jong craves a cigarette, but she realizes she's out, which only frustrates her more. As she searches her pockets, Jong discovers she still has the item that Moyoung was after. Unbeknownst to him, she had taken the Tyrant sample from the vault, leaving him with nothing but an empty case. Smirking at her cleverness, she safely tucks the sample sample away and moves on. While making her way through the area, she comes across a disturbing scene. Two boys have kidnapped a girl and brought her to this remote place. The terrified girl has already handed over some cash, hoping to be released, but the boys have no intention of letting her go. One of them starts to strangle and beat the girl, while the other steps out of the car to relieve himself. That's when Zhang suddenly appears in front of him. Startled, he drops his cigarette, and Zhang picks it up with a grin, savoring a drag before slamming the guy's head against the car window. The other boy inside the car hears the noise and steps out, but he finds only his injured companion. At that moment, Zhang sneaks into their car, stranding the two boys in the middle of nowhere without any means of escape. The girl, although saved, is still in shock, crying over the horrible ordeal she narrowly escaped. Seeing the girl's condition, Zhang's anger flares up. Furious at the kind of people who would do such things, she makes a quick decision. She revs the car and brutally runs over the two boys, crushing them without a second thought. Witnessing this brutal act, the girl becomes even more terrified, realizing that Zhang might be more dangerous than her captors. Panicking, she jumps out of the car and runs away, desperate to escape the horror she just witnessed. Meanwhile, the NIS team is furious about losing the Tyrant sample. They're worried about what might happen when Paul finds out, knowing his unpredictable and violent nature. The chairman of NIS instructs Director Sa to arrange a meeting with Chu. He suggests trying to resolve any issues through negotiation since the Tyrant project was started unofficially. Arresting Chu outright could expose their involvement and backfire on them. On the other side, Chui's manager contacts him after retrieving the vault from Moyong. Chui orders the manager to eliminate Moyong and his entire team, ensuring no loose ends. Later, Chu meets with Professor No, bringing the good news that the Tyrant sample is now safely in their possession and that Dr. Jonas and his team are secure. Professor No, relieved, suggests that they should go into hiding to avoid further complications. Chu agrees and offers to take him to his safe house. The scene then shifts to the Philippines, where Paul is watching a disturbing video related to the Tyrant project. He appears disgusted by what he sees, but then receives a call. The caller explains that the serum developed in Korea isn't just any serum, but a virus that can be activated through contact with skin and mucus. Standing beside Paul is his right-hand man, the same one who killed Gwen. These men are incredibly strong and formidable. As Paul's men torture several spies, hanging them upside down, Paul watches with a wide, unsettling smile. His cruel and psychopathic nature is on full display as he orders the spies to be with their heads sent to the headquarters as a grim message. With a casual, stylish flair, Paul puts on his glasses and prepares to head to Korea to personally deal with the unfolding crisis. The scene then shifts to a quiet village, where a man goes into the forest to dump some garbage. After throwing the trash, he sits down to smoke, but suddenly feels something strange. As he looks around nervously, a massive moss-covered monster with 3 arms appears right in front of him. Terrified, the man tries to run away but stumbles and falls. The monster approaches, and just as it's about to grab him, the sun rises. As sunlight touches the monster, it starts to twitch and writhe in pain. Suddenly, the creature explodes, splattering blood all over the man's face. The blood slowly seeps into the man's eyes, infecting him, and the scene quickly cuts away to another location. Next, we see a young man named Lim Sang arriving at the same village. Upon entering, he notices a poster indicating that all the villagers have gone on a hot spring trip. Lim Sang heads to the house of the man who was infected in the forest. Introducing himself as a reporter from the Suvan Daily News Agency, he speaks with the man's wife. She tells him, "You won't believe what my husband saw in the forest. Nobody does. Everyone thinks he just saw a pig in the early morning light and mistook it for a monster." Lim Sang asks, "But why is the village so empty?" The woman replies, "A kind man paid for the entire village to go on this trip. I wanted to go too, but I had to stay because my husband isn't well." Lim Sang asks if he can start the interview, and the wife agrees. He then shows a video of the Tyrant experiment to the infected man, whose behavior turns erratic and frightening. Even the wife is shocked, unable to understand what's happening. She tries to help control her husband, but amidst the chaos, Lim Sang pulls out a glass shield from his bag, covers his face, and suddenly shoots the woman, killing her instantly. He then fires multiple shots at the infected man's head, killing him too. His actions reveal him as a cold-blooded killer with a clinical, almost emotionless demeanor. After the brutal killings, Lim Sang calmly washes his hands, cleaning off the blood, then sets the house on fire before fleeing the scene. He does this to ensure that the virus is destroyed in the blaze, preventing it from spreading to anyone else. As he sits in his car, he receives a message on his phone from Chui's manager, who sends him a photo of Moyong and orders him him to eliminate Mo Young and his gang. The scene shifts to Chu's safe house, where his manager informs him that Jong is currently in an underground clinic. She was found unconscious and severely injured, and a doctor took care of her. The doctor, aware of the bounty on Jong's head, contacted them, hoping for a reward. The manager suggests they send someone to eliminate Jong before anyone else finds her. However, things take a turn when 3 men sent by Mr. Xiong arrive at the clinic. They kill the doctor with a thrown axe and proceed to find Jong, intending to kill her too. But Jong, despite her injuries, manages to take one of the goons hostage at knife point. She demands to know who sent them, asking, "Were you sent by Mo Young?" The thug sneers and replies, "It doesn't matter who sent us. The point is, you won't survive much longer. You and your dad should have stayed away from people like us." Hearing this, Jong realizes that these men are her father's murderers. Fueled by rage, she fights them fiercely, overpowering all 3 and brutally stabbing them to death. Afterward, Jong cleans herself up by soaking her clothes with water, revealing numerous scars and wounds on her body. A flashback shows the night she stole the vault. After completing the job, Mo Young's men attacked her with knives, and Mo Young himself shot at her. Luckily, she moved just in time, and the bullet only grazed her head, causing her to lose consciousness. Believing her to be dead, Mo Young ordered his men to dump her body in the dam to ensure it was never found. However, Jong, tough as nails, survived against all odds. Now burning with a desire for revenge, she is determined to hunt down those who wronged her. Jong puts on the doctor's clothes and slips out, beginning her search for Mo Young. But as she makes her way out, more people arrive, also searching for her. Jong quickly hides, watching as they enter the clinic. Seizing the opportunity, she sneaks outside but runs into another problem. A police officer spots her at the main gate. Thinking fast, she heads to the back exit. There, she finds a man loading luggage into a car. Without hesitating, Jong jumps into the driver's seat and takes off. The man, confused, tries to put his luggage in the car, but it falls and breaks open on the ground as Jong speeds away, leaving him behind in the dust. Realizing that his men failed to capture Jong, the manager assigns the task of eliminating her to Lim Sang. Meanwhile, Lim Sang is in the middle of another mission. He's targeting Mo Young's right-hand man, who had been out on a date with his girlfriend. After ruthlessly killing the girlfriend, Lim Sang holds the man at knife point, forcing him to drive the car. On the other side of the story, Cho meets with Director Sa at NIS headquarters. Director Sa tries to persuade Cho to hand over the tyrant sample, promising that they won't trouble him further if he cooperates. However, Chui refuses, leading to a heated argument. In the midst of their clash, the manager threatens to kill Chu's team members, but Chu remains unfazed. He has already taken matters into his own hands, assigning the task of eliminating his team to Lim Sang. In fact, Cho personally killed Professor No, disposing of his body by pushing his car off a cliff. The scene then cuts back to Lim Sang, who has taken Mo Young's right-hand man to a secluded spot resembling a train yard. There, he tortures the man with a drill machine, piercing his body while calmly recounting a story from his childhood. "You know," Lim Sang says, "when I was a kid, I used to make grand gestures. The railway tracks ran near my house, and while other kids dreamed of buying bikes or cars, I always wanted a train. I was drawn to the complexities of the tracks and the problems that came with them. You're the first person I've brought here, so I'm curious. How's the experience?" The terrified man is too scared to respond coherently, his pants wet with fear, while Lim Sang nonchalantly asks for feedback. After torturing him for a while, Lim Sang demands the address of Mo Young. The man, driven by fear, gives him the information. Lim Sang warns him, "If you're lying, I'll do the same to your family as I've done to you." Without hesitation, Lim Sang then shoots the man, killing him on the spot, and sets off to hunt down Mo Young. After this, Lim Sang heads to an apartment in Busan, searching for Mo Young. Although Mo Young is not there, his companions are. Lim Sang demands to know Mo Young's whereabouts, but they insist that Mo Young has cut off contact with them and they have no idea where he is. Frustrated by their unhelpful answers, Lim Sang kills them brutally. Meanwhile, Jong also arrives at the apartment, still on her mission to find Mo Young. She spots some boys smoking outside the building, and her personality switches as she craves a cigarette. Approaching the group, she asks for a cigarette, but the boys are rude and dismissive, even mocking her. Ignoring their behavior, Jong takes a cigarette and heads inside the apartment, puffing away. As she makes her way through the corridor, Jong crosses paths with Lim Sang, and for a moment, their eyes meet. Lim Sang has a strange sense of recognition, as if he's seen her before, but he continues on his way. Moments later, Jong enters the room where Mo Young's companions lie dead. Just as she's leaving, Lim Sang encounters the boys Jong had asked for a cigarette from. The boys are now sporting fresh injuries on their faces, suggesting Jong had beaten them up badly. Furious, Lim Sang takes out his anger on the boys, days, further delaying his pursuit of Jong. In the chaos, Jong manages to slip away, narrowly escaping Lim Sang's grasp. Determined, Lim Sang finally tracks her down. They quickly realize who each other is and engage in a fierce fight. Both of them sustain gunshot wounds, but they keep fighting despite their injuries. During the struggle, Jong demands to know if Lim Sang has killed Mo Yong. Just then, Lim Sang receives a message informing him that Mo Yong has been captured by NIS agents. With this new information, Lim Sang stops fighting Jong. Instead of continuing their battle, he turns his attention to Mo Yong, determined to finish his mission. Director Sa is trying to take Mo Yong to a safe place when Paul and his men suddenly show up. Paul's right-hand man climbs onto the car, pulls Mo Yong out, and takes both Mo Yong and Cho to Chu's safe house, where Chu's most trusted people usually hide. But Paul and his men start shooting at everyone without holding back. Inside, some of Chu's technicians, who have been working on opening the vault for days, finally manage to unlock it, only to find that the tyrant is missing. Mo Yong realizes that Jong must have taken it, but Paul thinks that Chu and Mo Yong are trying to trick him. He believes that if they have the vault, they should also have the tyrant sample. Meanwhile, Jong and Lim Sang are attacked by some people, leading to a fierce fight. During the fight, the vial containing the tyrant virus breaks, and the virus gets into Jong's body through her skin. Both Jong and Lim Sang are shocked by what just happened. Lim Sang asks, "What is this?" Jong replies, "I don't know what it is. I was suspicious of Mo Yong's intentions, so I took the sample out of the vault and kept it with me. I planned to give it back if he paid me all my money." Lim Sang realizes that Jong has been infected by the virus. In the next scene, Paul is furious. He demands Chu tell him where the tyrant is, but Chu doesn't know. Enraged, Paul starts killing Chu's men one by one. When it's Mo Yong's turn, he finally reveals that Jong has the tyrant. Meanwhile, Jong and Lim Sang arrive at the safe house, where they face off against Paul's right-hand man, Tom. As the tyrant virus begins to affect Jong, she easily overpowers Tom in the fight. At the same time, Lim Sang points a gun at Paul and warns him, "If you shoot me, you won't like the consequences." The tension builds as they face off, each ready to strike. Chui, with a sly smile, says to Lim Sang, "Friend, you know exactly what you have to do now." Hearing this, Lim Sang shoots Paul without hesitation. Seeing this, Mo Yong tries to run, but Lim Sang shoots him in the leg, stopping him in his tracks. He then hands Mo Yong over to Jong, knowing that she wants her revenge. Jong Mo Yong, fulfilling her final wish. Earlier, Jong and Lim Sang had made a deal. Jong's last wish was to kill Mo Yong. Now that she has achieved her goal, Lim Sang prepares to kill her. But Chu, curious about the effects of the tyrant virus on Jong, orders the lights to be turned on. Under the light, Jong's face looks terrifying, showing the virus's impact. Lim Sang immediately shoots at Jong, but the bullets have no effect. Jong manages to grab the gun and shoots at the lights, causing a power surge that plunges the room into darkness. Jong, who previously had a split personality disorder, now experiences a third personality emerging due to the tyrant virus. Her three personalities begin conversing with each other in a chaotic manner. Chu warns Jong to hide because it's early morning and sunlight could make her vulnerable, possibly even kill her. He also mentions that the NIS agents are on their way. In the next scene, Director Sa arrives at the safe house with his men. They find only Chu and Lim Sang alive among a sea of dead bodies. Director Sa's men shoot Lim Sang, causing him to fall through a window and into the river below. Director Sa threatens Chu, saying he will torture him until he reveals the location of the tyrant. However, Chu chooses to kill himself instead, determined to keep the tyrant's secret hidden. Enraged by this turn of events, Director Sa loses his temper and shoots several more people in frustration, realizing he has lost his last chance to find the tyrant. Meanwhile, Jong pulls Lim Sang out of the river, showing the bond that has formed between them. She repeats her father's words, "Life never goes according to our plans. It's unpredictable, no matter what happens." With these final thoughts, the story comes to an end. Well, how did you like the video? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Don't forget to comment your thoughts.